Good morning, everyone. How's it going today? Great? You know, we talk about transformation. I just took a walk out on the floor, and I've really seen OSP transform into ISE. It's not only about outside plant. You know, there's wireless discussions going on, software-defined networking, fuel cells, you name it. So this industry is really transforming itself. It has transformed, it will transform, and it will continue to transform. But before I get into today's presentation, I want to talk about a few key things that I will discuss. Last week, I had an opportunity to go see one of the two museums of telecommunications history in Denver. And you know, it happens to be in a building that CenturyLink owned. It's one of our first central offices from 1800s. It's a very, very nice building. You go in there, they give you a nice tour. But when I went through that tour, it became very clear to me that, you know, transformation is real, and we have transformed. You know, I saw a cable, a foot-long cable, which weighed more than 20 pounds. Now, and that was able to carry a phone call between United States to Australia, and guess how much that call cost at the time in 1910 or something? About $9. And in today's world, it's a 3-minute call, and with inflation and everything else, it's $900, right? So there are benefits to transformation. There are benefits to where we are going, and so my story is going to talk about that. A little bit about CenturyLink. You know, it's important to know where we have been, where we are going, and where we are coming from, because we have gone through a transformation. You know, our industry is going through a tremendous amount of revolution. We are going through, I think, the 4th industrial revolution. We are somewhere in the middle of that. And as we walk through this, it will become clear why it's important for us to transform and where we need to focus. Now, transformation is a big word. It's transformation of platforms, processes, people, skill set, technologies. But I've chosen to talk about software-defined transformation. So what role software is going to play in where we are taking this industry. So a little bit about CenturyLink. CenturyLink had its starts in 1930. The company started with 75 lines and $500, and just about 80 years ago, okay? And the switchboard was placed in a parlor. It was a 24/7 operation. It was only closed between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. on Sundays, where, you know, our founder's wife, she sat down and she wrote the bills by hand, and their son delivered those bills to those 75 customers on a bicycle. That's kind of how it got started. In 1978, CenturyLink went on New York Stock Exchange. This is when we started the digital transformation. So not right now, but many, many years ago. That's when we started moving electromechanical switches to digital switches. Between 1978 and 2008, CenturyLink expanded into 16 states, acquired Embark Communications for $11.6 billion, and became a major player in the telecommunications world. But you know, we had realized over time that we have to make a change, and we have to really transform from being a telco to next generation hybrid IT company. So we acquired Savvis, we acquired Quest Communications, and became the 3rd largest provider in terms of number of access lines in the United States. And we have gone through major transformations. We made some right bets, some wrong bets, but all in all, it's moving in the right direction. So what is CenturyLink? Our job is to take technology, talent, and transformation and use that to help transform our customers into the digital world, the world that we haven't seen yet. This world is changing, it will continue to change, and we'll play our part in it. In terms of numbers, now about $18 billion in revenue, 60% of our business comes from enterprise, largest customers such as our big brother, US government, and several Fortune 500 companies. 98% of the Fortune 500 companies have some sort of a relationship with us. 20% of worldwide internet traffic passes through our network. 600,000 miles of fiber, multiple data centers, and about 6 million consumer customers who buy broadband, voice, video, and other services from us. Now, in terms of transformation, in the last 10 years, we have gone through a massive change from 6,500 employees to over 43,000 employees. Enterprise value grew from almost $8 billion to almost $47 billion. We generate very good positive cash flow. Now, this thing can change in a minute if we become complacent and not change and not embrace technology for digital transformation. So what is transformation? Transformation is important because our industry is changing itself. Our competition is a lot different than it used to be 10 years ago. 10 years ago, when I used to go support our sales guys on a sales call and go to an enterprise customer, they'll be like, us, AT&T, and Verizon. Everybody had the same exact product, and the differentiation was in support and cost. So we walk in literally with a price sheet from DS1s to DS3s, say, okay, Mr. Customer, what would you like? And by the way, I can give this to you for this price. Please go with us. Now, this industry is different. Some customers are not even calling us to begin with. They are approached by Google, Amazon. Actually, they don't even have to approach them because they go find them on the web, right? They self-service themselves. They turn on their service. They manage their SLAs. This is what we are up against as an industry. So legacy systems, processes, people, mindset, that is here to stay. We have a long-term legacy. Out of the 43,000 employees, I think 40,000+ have been with the company for a very, very long time. That's why events like ISE are important, because we have to upgrade that skill set. Back in the days when there was a problem, somebody will call us, we'll do a truck roll, we'll go replace a card, we'll order one, and that process takes anywhere from 48 hours to a couple of weeks. When we want to order a service, we'll actually do a site survey. We'll figure out what the requirement of the site is. We'll go ship some equipment. Then we go into a long configuration process. And by the time you get your MPLS service, it could be 90 to 120 days or so. That has literally changed. About a month and a half ago, we launched our service called Software Defined WAN, which is over-the-top MPLS. It takes 6 minutes to provision. 6 minutes, right? So going from 120 days to 6 minutes, massive transformation for the customers. For some customers, they don't even have to have our internet. It's an over-the-top service. So we go to a customer who has 3 stores in a mall. They are running a pizza place and other fast food franchise. They only need a single manager maintaining those 3 stores, creating their own VPNs, figuring out who needs to have what access to what application. All that comes in a nice interface. That's where we are today. Imagine what will happen with virtual reality, robotics, and robotics automation over time. We are venturing into an era that we haven't seen before. So there'll be ups and downs. We'll make some mistakes, but all in all, it's a great story and good news for all of us. Pain points of telecom. It's important for us to understand what we have to go through, or we have gone through, before we talk about where we are going. We have reduced margins. The customers are now moving to an over-the-top type service. They are doing self-service. They are calling, as I said, web companies to get their services. At the same time, we are seeing a revolution in the software where network is becoming software, software is being virtualized, and it's going to the cloud. It's a massive change from where we have been and where we are going. So that means what needs to happen? we need to start talking about a platform economy, a platform that helps us, our customers, monetize their investment much better than what they have been able to do. Because guess what? They are competing in their own industries because technology is revolutionizing everything that we see, feel, and touch. At the same time, we have to revolutionize our workforce, their skill set. When you need to go troubleshoot an issue, you're not going to go do truck rolls. Now you need the same person to go do an SQL query in a database and read a database record to see whether that voice connection or VoIP connection or wireless or internet connection has the right memory allocation, has the right service allocated to it, has the right software-defined virtual functions enabled. Different world that we live in. But it requires more and more transformation of our skill set, processes, and platform. That's kind of where we are going. Now, anybody remembers this game? Right? This game has gone through a major transformation. So a little bit of a history of Scrabble. It changed its names 3 or 4 times, but in 1948, it was all wooden cubes. And there were only 2,400 games produced by hand. Okay? Between 1948 and now, I say till 2007 or 8, millions of units were produced. What's common between this and SDN? Multiple players, multiple strategies. Now, software-defined product. As of 2009, you can play this game online. It is smart. It learns from your mistakes. It won't let you make mistakes. It uses analytics. And this is what software is all about. This is what networking will do, it is doing, and will continue to do as we transform our networks. So what is SDN and what is NFV? In simple terms, you take the control plane and you segregate that from data plane. And you take that control plane and turn this into a piece of software with a nice UI, user interface, that your operations teams can use to enable service, to provision service. Your customers can use to view their SLAs. Your sales teams can use to figure out what needs to be upsold to the customer. And then once that's built, on top of that, you can add more and more functions. Functions as simple as filtering. Functions as simple as software-defined content distribution networks. So if you happen to be a business that's in the media business, and we have a large media business, you don't need lots of boxes sitting in every central office or on your location to do URL filtering or to do caching. You take that customer and you map them back to a function that's sitting somewhere in the cloud, and all of a sudden they have access to all those functions. That's what this SDN NFV networking transformation is all about. Benefits, tremendous amount of benefits. It helps reduces capital. Capital is flexible now, right? You don't have to go invest in big boxes and seed them and wait for the customers to come. You can do things just in time. When the customer needs that service, you can offer that service to them from anywhere in the world. Now, networks have to get built. That is a given. You have to have the right bandwidth. You have to have right quality of service, whether wireline or wireless. But the applications that go on top of that, they're all 100% virtualized. Operations. Important part for operation is to be more proactive than reactive. Things like big data, analytics, they help operations become much more smarter in the software-defined world. Self-healing networks, self-maintenance. Those are some of the attributes of this network. If I have to make one prediction right now, I would say in the next 5 years, the big box makers, they will become software companies. As a matter of fact, when I go talk to my counterparts in those companies, they are already working towards that. Hardware is there. Early on in my career, I worked for a company that used to be the best wireless company at the time, the Big M. Okay? We were building base stations and mobile switches, But we always wanted to build everything ourselves. We would buy a company, take their IPR, throw their product out, and redevelop the whole thing. The time to market was at least 24 to 36 months. It will require hundreds of millions of dollars and thousands of people to launch a product. With a software-defined world, your barrier to entry has dropped significantly. Remember the days of initial VoIP? When someone can pick an asterisk box, two-man crew out of their garage, turn on a VoIP business, and compete for a wireline business. It would cost them $15,000, $20,000 to get into this business. Same thing is about to happen in networking. It would not prevent any one of you in this audience to go partner with a couple of companies out there who are building virtual WAN services, start your own company, and start competing with the big guys. So when you are up against this, you have to make sure that your differentiation shows up in the customer experience. And customer experience has to be modular. We are now talking about loosely coupled, completely distributed software network, where things are agile, where your time to market is in days versus years, where you fail, but fail fast, learn in an agile world. But it has implications on operations. Remember your maintenance windows? You get to do an upgrade maybe once a quarter. Then you have to inform your customers. You got to wait. Now, this is all going to DevOps, guys. I've got news for you. This is where this world is going, where you're making 10 changes a night. But it has to be seamless. It cannot impact the customer because you cannot give in on the customer experience. All in all, once you have that, you'll be able to protect your legacy revenue, create an improved customer experience at a cost points much lower than where we are today. For us, this is actually a reality. We are building our own software that runs on white boxes that can help provide virtual CPE, virtual routers, virtual switches. This is where we need to go. This is where we are going. But that doesn't mean that we would not partner with the right players. This is a world of partnership. You have to make sure that what we build and what you build works across this framework, works with multiple vendors, multiple partners, in multiple situations with multiple networks. It's a different world that we are talking about. But still, there's a lot of folks who don't understand this transformation. This is a Forrester survey that was done, whether folks knew about SDN, NFV, whether they believed in it, whether they trusted it, and whether they were implementing it. As you can see, only 29% of the providers worldwide are actually proactively working on a software-defined network. Now, let me see a show of hands in this room. How many people here are in some way or shape or form are involved in software-defined networking? Okay, less than 2 or 3%, right? So if I'm here 2 or 3 years down the line, I can guarantee you this would be 80 to 90%. This is where the world is going. This thing is about to change on us. So for CenturyLink, we are going through a massive transformation. I kind of talked about our history, but now let's spend a few minutes about our future. MPLS is going to be fully software-defined network. It's SD-WAN, okay? Ethernet, virtual CPE, virtual products, virtual video, virtual service security, everything is going to get virtual. Now, that doesn't mean that we will give up and give in on thousands of customers who are bringing in 18 billion of revenue on a yearly basis. We have to make sure that as we grow and build the future, we build a bridge between the future and today. And that requires a lot of work. Actually, less technical work than cultural work. Its skill set changes. So we use products from ISE to actually let our teams, whether they are operations, technology, customer care, service, billing, use knowledge and learn about how they need to react differently. The customer still needs a bill. We still need to provide them with their CDRs. We still need to show them how their network is behaving. Technology-wise, your services, your IT, your network, it's all coming together. It's all about software. So when that happens, you have to work on the customer experience. Keep the customer in mind and make all these changes. For us, it's actually true. And this is where we are going. So we are building a platform that takes our network, co-location, hosting, cloud, wrap it on a digital platform with a whole bunch of APIs that allows us and our partners to come deliver and develop their services on, with an interface to a new digital platform that helps the customers consume their services when they want, where they want it. This is true digital transformation. It provides full automation, it's user-centric, it's scalable by industry. So the same platform could be used by hospitality industry a lot differently than healthcare, than financial services. What's important underneath that is the network. Network has to be fast enough, resilient, self-healing, self-learning. That's where this world is going. So our SDN services are available in 7 continents and multiple countries. We started this program back in 2012. The first thing we did is unified thread management. We took a vendor's platform, we virtualized it, we put it on our SDN network, and then we quietly started talking to a few customers, and it spread like wildfire. This is one of the fastest growing services we have. No marketing. Customers find it, and they go and gravitate towards that. We have a cloud network that we have built. Remember, I talked about Savvis acquisition. After that, we've also acquired a few other platforms that helps us automate that customer experience. And this digital platform is based on that cloud platform. So when you go on the platform, you'll order your service, you'll see what you pay, you see your utilization on a real-time basis. That's the benefit for the customers. They don't care whether it's run on software or hardware, whether there are 50 people running behind the scenes. They want to see their service delivered on time, running 100% of the time, and be modular enough for them to maintain their own SLA and run their own services. This platform provides this. So this is extended to our MPLS network across the world to our data centers, and it's tied back to our virtualized functions. And over a period of time, we'll continue to add more and more functionality on that. It's a modular platform. So this is the platform economy I was referring to earlier. Let's go deeper into this. So what is the breakdown? What are some of the domains? In this world, just like yesterday when we had multiple network elements from multiple vendors, we have multiple controllers. Everyone, this thing is not standardized. I mean, there are standards, but there are a variety of standards. And every player has their own interpretation of that standard. So you have to make sure that you are able to orchestrate across the base between multiple networks. So here comes the concept of a federated SDN controller. You got to be able to control these things in a software, but you have to be able to control these things. So you may have, like Cisco's TLF platform running, it's their own software controlling some of their functions that will integrate from them. We might get something from Juniper. We may have something from, Nokia. We may have our own stuff, but it needs to be able to orchestrate across the base. That's where SDN controller comes in. Core, we have to make sure that we continue to add more and more capacity in the core. We have gone from 10 gig to 100 gig to 400 gig interfaces. That will continue to happen. But how packets flow between them, we want to be able to control that through software. We need to virtualize these data centers. In the next 3 years, we will not be sitting here and talking about central offices. It would be about software-controlled, redefined architecture. And that means one thing. That means a whole bunch of smart edges, smart compute devices running in these central offices as they stand today, running virtual functions. So imagine the benefits we will receive and our customers will receive from this. You take a central office, hundreds of bays will turn into a rack. And that rack will support 10 times the capacity that you can support today. That's the power of software-defined networking and network function virtualization. Access. Today, when we are investing a tremendous amount of resources, energy, and CapEx and OpEx in building our broadband footprint. I failed to mention that we invest about $3 billion of CapEx and about $14 billion of OpEx every year in maintaining our business, providing services to our customers, and enhancing our network capabilities. Imagine taking a portion of that and putting it in the software world. You'll receive 10 times the benefits now. That $14 billion will have the impact of $140 billion if we compare it to what we do today. That's a lot of money, guys. That means a lot more work can be done, and a different world awaits us. Access, to be specific, we've got GPON, vectoring, bonding, GFAST. We've done things in a traditional way in the past. We are also changing that. This goes into an SFP or a CFP that plugs back to a white box, an open compute platform, with a hardware abstraction layer that allows us to put our software on top. And that's where this world is going. And then when we open up interfaces on that, just imagine the possibilities. There's lots of software developers out there who love to get into this platform and deliver services. But you gotta make sure these things are secure. Our world is under constant threat. There's lots of bad actors out there who would love to get into the network, and most times they are actually there. And we are closing those doors as fast as we can. In the software world, the challenge will continue and will actually increase. So you have to be fast, nimble, agile, but you have to be vigilant at the same time. That brings me to the last thing, CPE. We invest a lot of money in shipping CPEs to the customers. That's the traditional model, whether it's a consumer, small business, or enterprise. The first thing goes as a CPE because all intelligence lives on that CPE. Switching, routing, other services. We have taken that intelligence and moved it into the cloud. And we ship a very small element. In some cases, you don't even need a CPE. And this is called virtual CPE. We have virtualized the customer premise equipment to an extent where customers have now access to a lot more services. We control the policies, and we can give them additional services on demand. That's where this world is going. So, very complex picture here for some, but I wanted to put it out there for one reason only. This is all about making things simple for the customers. But that means we have to take on much more software complexity in the background. It's a different world, but it is a complex world. And I'll give you one example. 5 years ago, when you asked somebody to develop a website, they had to write a whole bunch of code. Now, my 7-year-old is writing code in Python and building websites because all the complexity is hidden. That legacy code is underneath. It exists. But with APIs and service calls and subroutines or whatnot, it has made it extremely simple for a massive amount of folks with a little bit of software knowledge to go deliver services on top of what was written years ago. Same thing exists here. These controllers, they are running software, but they are interacting with the legacy systems. Remember, bridge between new and old, extremely important. So massive amount of complexity, completely hidden with a simple world that us and our customers and our partners can use to monetize their business. What's important in this world is differentiation. I really, truly believe that in the next 5 or 6 years, most of the providers will be there. But again, you can't go in and say, hey, I have a software-defined network. Do you want to buy a service? Customers don't care. They want a network that's up and running all the time. That means self-healing, self-learning, with analytics, with support, real-time order processing. That is important, and that is going to be our key differentiation for our network. Extremely important for folks who are thinking about going into software-defined networking to make sure that they use analytics, big data, and those attributes, and overlay that with whatever they're trying to build. And I think that would be our holy grail and will clearly differentiate us from our competition. But there are risks and challenges. Everything is easier said than done, right? I talked a little bit about our culture and skill set. When you have a culture where folks have done the same thing over the last 30 years, it's kind of hard for them to go, do a database lookup, because they are so used to running 5 different tools, moving paper around 50 different desks to provision a service. That's a mind shift change, guys. I think that's the biggest impediment we have in our way to the software world. The second thing is maintaining legacy. We cannot throw legacy while we are building the new, and we have to build this bridge. For us, that means we are building API business. We are taking all the old applications and ensuring that it can talk to the new stuff. So there's an investment that's required, and at the same time, traditional legacy services have to be protected. There are multiple options, right? So ONOS, ODL, NetConf, Yang, multiple models. When you go talk to your partners, you'll hear 5 or 6 different stories, multiple ways to get there. You have to pick yours, stick with it, and make sure you make it open enough so that you can talk to everything else. And then it's all about value. Unless you can think you can drive value, don't do it. Do it only if you think that you can add additional virtual services, which will open multiple revenue streams for you. For us, when we build our SD-WAN service and put it on our SDN controllers, overnight we are able to now access millions of more businesses that we were not able to access before. Because guess what? It goes over the top. It doesn't have to be our network, but it's our service. It doesn't have to be in every data center. It doesn't have to be in every CEO, every cabinet. You can run it diverse in 2 parts of the country, and all of a sudden you have access over the internet. And it's more secure than some of the services we offer today. More secure. Right? So this world is definitely going to change the way we are going, and it's going to take a whole bunch of us to work together to get there. So at the end, we have a platform, we have a software-defined world, we have a bunch of virtual functions. They translate into fast, innovative delivery for our customers. So I'll stop here and see if there are any questions. And Sharon, if you want to come up here to take questions as well.
Yes, sure. You all have been texting us, and we've got some
That's
good
the beauty
ones.
of technology, right? So.
I know. How about that? Let's look at a few together. How about security? So the question is, are you good at that?
Yep.
Okay. It seems that the Federation control with access to other cloud networks presents a target-rich environment for threats, Aamir. How important of an issue is security for your rollout so far?
Extremely important, right? So if we were to go do traditional security, traditional way of having a risk sense or other appliances installed everywhere, we would never get there. So we have changed our strategy. We are actually gleaming information from the network and using that information to predict a DDoS attack or a threat attack that will happen over a period of time, so we can be proactive about it, one. Second, we get a lot of advanced threat intelligence from the government. Third, we collaborate in this industry with other partners. We happen to have a very good security team because we do provide security services to the government, so you can imagine the type of services we have. And now we are taking it down market. So the first thing is the government, second is enterprise, third is businesses. But it is extremely important that we keep security in front of everything we build. As I said, in the software-defined world, the game is completely different. So for us, it's being proactive than reactive. And I think if we are proactive, we will mitigate a lot of these security threats.
Got some more.
Yes.
Wait, let me read it.
Go ahead.
Aamir, you mentioned the big box concept is being reduced. Is CenturyLink involved in white box development and self-managed capabilities?
Yes, we are. So one of the things I do is I'm not a big believer on building everything from scratch. And if I can acquire a capability to fill a gap, we do that. So we talked about some of our bigger acquisitions, but we acquired many smaller capabilities, smaller outfits over the last 2 or 3 years, and they have enabled us to get to where we are today. So now I can get a Titan box with an Intel Atom processor, with a Tomahawk chipset from Broadcom, with a hardware abstraction layer, and add my own software on top of that, and build, a 32 by 10, 100 gig metro switch. But I will completely differentiate this in a way where it will be used for edge switching. I would not put that in the core, right? I think it's with time we'll get there, but for core switches, core and P and P core switches, we'll still go to the big guys. But yes, we are involved. We work closely with our friends at Facebook and other parts of Silicon Valley to get to a common platform.
This is so fun. I'm getting messages, questions like crazy.
Right. Okay, so go ahead.
The question is, Aamir, how is IoT going to impact outside plant network, if at all?
So let me step back and talk about my technology priorities for 16 and 17. So we have 5 key priorities given what we talked about. The first one is building that platform using big data analytics. Second one is adding more and more investment into our broadband network. Third is software-defined world. Fourth is over-the-top services such as managed security, managed video, and other things. The fifth one is this one, IoT. Why IoT is important? If you look around this room, I can guarantee you there's about 100 sensors here. They're sending all this data. This data is going over somebody's network. In our case, we take all this data, we don't monetize anything, one. Second, as we get into the next generation consumer home, it's all about home control. I want to be able to enable that customer to do what they want, where they want, and be the CEOs of their own home. I got to have access to those sensors. So we are building things like gateways with full Zigbee Z-Wave capability along with 4x4, 8x8 mesh Wi-Fi that enables the customers to get the best service possible at a cost structure that they haven't seen before. Third, there are smart cities which are being built, and we have won some major contracts. Smart buildings, smart fleets. IoT play a key role in where we need to go. Now, are we going to make this as a big part of our portfolio? No. Are we going to use the capabilities to enhance services for our customers? Absolutely, yes.
Oh, this is good.
Please.
Okay, this is fun. What robotics, virtual reality areas are you actively investigating and trailing? Given your business segment depth, are you getting involved in things like drone deliveries, autonomous cars, et cetera?
Yeah.
I want one of those autonomous cars.
Well, one thing I would recommend, we have to stick to our core. Our core is broadband, services to the customers, networking. So we're not going to go build any autonomous cars. But I can hook you up with my friends in the valley.
You got a guy?
Right, so yeah. But we will make sure that we are very, very active in robotics automation. As a matter of fact, I have a cloud team, and they maintain all of their clouds through robotics automation. We build robots that, push out new configurations, build new machines, self-correct, self-heal. I'm bringing all that into our network and IT. That's where we need to go. That's what self-healing, self-learning is all about. And VR, I think, plays a huge role, but we will enable VR. VR will require a lot more bandwidth. And VR will require a lot more compression. So we'll enable a lot more compression in our networks, lot more bandwidth, and edge caching and other things that will help enhance the VR experience. We will not build VR ourselves.
Very good.
Go ahead.
Okay. I didn't know if you would take that one. Okay. Considering SDN is impossible in over 89 to 90% of CenturyLink's network that isn't currently FTTH, will the immediate focus be to become virtually 100% FTTH so that SDN becomes seamless and worth the capital expense? You mentioned 5 years for CenturyLink to be SDN. Is that an attainable goal for such a large company?
So I'll address it in two parts. So the first one is SDN going to be capitally efficient for any other network other than FTTH? As a matter of fact, SDN is our answer to higher capital intensity. It's very low CapEx, okay? Because if we hadn't bought a Savvis or a Tier 3, if we didn't have a cloud business, I would say yes. But we have all that. We have the investment in place. Incrementally, I'm placing very little investment in that and getting it done the right way possible. So it helps us virtualize GPON, GFast, vectoring bonding, and I'm working with our partners on that as well. So besides FTTH, other technologies can also benefit from SDN. That's the first question. The next part was basically around
The 5 years. Sorry, there's so many coming in.
Yeah. Let's see if we pick it up. Yeah, so in 5 years, would we be fully virtualized? So as I said, we started this process in 2012. 56% of our core IP networks is 100% virtualized already. We've got an SDN pod sitting in our key locations, key data in 7 countries, and we have 83 of those. So, I mean, we are well on our way of being there. I think the key thing here is that we have to be able to offer more services. So now we have turned our attention to NFV. We have virtualized 3 or 4 services, but we also have to get some feedback from our potential customers. We have to watch the demand. What we can't do is just go build all this stuff and wait for them to come. So it will happen just in time. But I'm pretty confident that in the next 5 years, we'll be there. We have no choice. We have to be there.
Will you come back with and tell us that you're there in 5 years?
Absolutely.
Yes. Here's a good one.
Okay.
Bandwidth can still be a limiting factor even in SDN networks, and particularly at customer sites. It would be great if you could comment on G.fast versus other technologies like 5G and FTTX.
Okay. So bandwidth is extremely important. You know, if you look at a consumer household today, they're usually running, 3 or 4 streams, HD, Ultra HD one stream. In some case, they may be running some peer-to-peer communications, web services. So we did an exercise, technology exercise, where we put all this in a lab and measured the effective bandwidth for the customer, about 60 meg. Now, 50 to 60 meg is actually enough for our customers for the next, I say, 18 months. Now, in the next 18 months, 100, 200 meg, 500 meg, ultimately to a gig. That's where bandwidth is going to go. Now, we are investing a lot. In the next 3 years, I think 72% of our top 25 markets will have the capability to get 100, 200, 500 gig, in some cases 2 gig. Bandwidth is important. So, when things get virtualized and they go live in the software world and live in the cloud, guess what's important? QoS and higher bandwidth, because for every application, you're going somewhere. The second thing that's important is also upstream, because you're uploading stuff. And that's, in our plan, that's an advantage. So we are building 4 technologies. We're building vectoring and bonding to get to a 100 to 200 meg type solution. We announced the largest deployment of GFast in North America in Wisconsin, I think last week. So we are pretty active in that, and we have a 3-year plan that builds a lot of GFast to MDUs. We will continue to build GPON. We have the largest GPON deployment right now in North America. I mean, almost 1.5 million homes, and that will go to 3 to 4 million homes in the next couple of years. So we are active across all wireline scenarios, but wireless is important. I think in the next 5 years, wireless will play a key role in where we need to go. So I'm doing some trials on 5G type technology. We have a partnership with Qualcomm. We are working closely with them to understand the benefits of going to wireless, and it's really about fixed wireless. We are not interested in providing mobile, voice, and other things. We've got partners like Verizon, AT&T, and everybody else, but fixed wireless is important. So, it comes down to your cost per homes passed. If I can pass a home with a Wi-Fi, WiMAX, 5G type technology to get them, anywhere from 50 to 100 meg today, at a better cost point, I'll do that all day long. So that's important. Also, as a part of our CAF2 funding, we'll enable almost 4.5 million homes in 33 states with a higher speed broadband type service. And these customers are getting, less than a meg and a half from us today. So as that goes up, that's where wireless will play a much better role, because your loop lengths are larger, and these are wider areas, so you don't have line of sight issues. We are doing a few trials there as well. I think it's more this world will continue to change as we have more spectrum available to us, as we have more options. These 4 technologies will play a key role in where we need to go.
Fantastic. I wish we had more time because I have a ton of more questions, and I apologize, but we do have to stop. But before we stop, I'd like to thank Aamir, and I'd like you to join me.
Thank you.